Breaking news, the polls are now officially closed in the election that will determine whether the longest-serving leader in Israel's history, the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, will remain in power. And brand new exit polls have just come out and indicating neither he nor his opponent has the votes needed to secure the majority. Israel, of course, is a key U.S. ally, and Netanyahu has led the country for more than a decade. But now he faces voters for the second time in less than 6 months after he failed to gain enough support among smaller rival parties to form a coalition government. After that, he called for this new government. The Prime Minister Netanyahu's challenger is the former Israeli army chief, Benny Gantz. Today, he told voters, quoting here, "We will bring change without corruption, without extremism." Of course, that's a jab at Netanyahu, who's facing possible corruption charges. He denies that he has done anything wrong. But he's promised if he is reelected, he'll do a number of things. One, he'll annex parts of the West Bank and some Israeli settlements and the Jordan Valley. Some analysts say that would greatly jeopardize attempts to reach a two-state solution between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Effectively, if that happens, the two-state solution is dead, and diplomatic fallout could spread beyond the region. And in addition, Prime Minister Netanyahu will also have the opportunity, if he becomes prime minister again, to put into place new laws against him being prosecuted for the crimes with which he's accused. In other words, if he's prime minister again, he can declare that he cannot be prosecuted. Trey Yink's reporting live from Netanyahu headquarters in Tel Aviv tonight. Trey?
Shep, based on the preliminary exit polls, either way you look at it, this is not a good day for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. In Israel, you need 61 seats in the country's parliament, referred to as the Knesset here, in order to govern. None of the polls that have come out today from 3 of the main Israeli channels put Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over that 61 vote threshold. While there is a left bloc and a right bloc, the left bloc led by Benny Gantz, the former army general of the Blue and White Party, and the right bloc, Benjamin Netanyahu of the Likud Party, there is mixed polling as to who will pull off a victory tonight. There's a few polls that actually have the prime minister winning when you look at the blocks by 2 seats, but it still does not get him to that majority. This turns us to a third party important to look at, which is the Our House of Israel party, led by the former defense minister Avigdor Lieberman. He is considered the kingmaker in all of this. He is going to get anywhere from 8 to 10 seats based on the preliminary exit results. This will give him the ability to decide basically who is going to be the next prime minister of Israel. A little bit about Lieberman. He has had a personal issue with Prime Minister Netanyahu for almost 20 years. The two have not gotten along. Additionally, based on interviews leading up to Election Day, Lieberman said he's looking to form a national unity government. This is something that the current Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has come out against. Additionally, he is someone who is looking for a secular liberal government. This aligns much more with the Blue and White Party of Benny Gantz. Over the next week, we will be standing by to see what's going to happen here in Israel, because President Rivlin of Israel will ultimately make a final decision as to who he is going to give the nod to try to form a coalition government. That individual, either Netanyahu or Gantz, will then have 28 days to try to put together a government. If neither is able to do so, you could actually see Israel go to a third round of elections this year. Shep? Lots of interesting things about elections in Israel. One of them is this. In the United States, if you're running for an office, the last thing that politicians do is stand up and go, "We're about to lose this thing. Please come out. You must come out and vote. I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose." But in Israel, that's exactly what happened the last time Netanyahu ran. What about this time? Well, that's exactly right. The Netanyahu campaign's tactics today were nothing short of Orwellian. You saw the prime minister doing Facebook Lives and tweets throughout the day, providing factually incorrect information to viewers in Israel. Additionally, you saw a number of voters listening to many of these comments by the prime minister, saying that Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas was encouraging Israeli Arabs to get out and vote for the left that would put Netanyahu's side in the negative. Additionally, another piece of misinformation provided by the Netanyahu campaign was that Arabs and left-wing voters were coming out in larger numbers than normal. There was no evidence provided by the Netanyahu campaign to support those comments. So you saw, once again, the prime minister trying to come out on election day, actually with a megaphone, walking through the streets of Jerusalem, telling voters to get to the polls because there was this sort of activity going on. But again, there was no evidence provided by the Netanyahu campaign. Certainly something that voters are going to be talking about here for the rest of the week as they look forward to see who the president of Israel is going to give that nod to in order to form a coalition government. Here in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, you can expect a number of meetings as both Gantz and Netanyahu try to do some horse trading behind the scenes to see if they can get that nod by President Rivlin moving forward. Shep.
So it's like 10:30 there now. How many more hours before we know what the voters have decided, at least who gets what percentages?
We're going to find out on Thursday morning the final results, the verified results from the Israeli government. The exit polls, though, tonight, again, do indicate mixed results, basically a deadlock here in Israel. But again, Thursday morning will be that key time to look at to see whether or not the Likud party or the Blue and White party does come out on top. Jeff?
Thursday morning in Israel, late Wednesday here in the United States. Thanks very much, Trey Yinks, our man in Jerusalem.